Hi everyone, and welcome to the fourth part of
The
our
final part.
album review for Krayzie Bone's Thug Mentality 1999, the 38 track Monster. My name is Holden Stephan Roy.
I am your lady fan, Bonnie.
This is the Classic Quest podcast, the show where we break down the classics track by track, giving our thoughts and opinions on each song. The kinds of albums we review is stuff like Krayzie Bone's Thug Mentality 1999.
Yep.
We've done all that intro stuff a couple times. We recommend checking out parts 1, 2, 3 if you want more context for some of the stuff as we go through the last 10 tracks on this project because, well, we'll get into that real quick. First, I do make music myself. You can check that out and see what you think on this channel, and in the description of this video you'll find a Spotify link. You can hit that little follow. That would be super swell of you. And if you like this deep dive format that we do, you can support us over on Patreon. That would be fresh. Yeah, so we have 10 more tracks to get through in this moment, and we accidentally skipped one last time. So we skipped track 20, and we went from 19 at the end of part 2 to 21 at the start of part 3. And for those of you paying attention, you might call us on that. So the real question is, where are my thugs at?
Exactly.
All right, Bonnie, how do you feel about this track produced by DJ Unique?
Well, this one sounds hard. It's pretty cool. There's like bombs and there's guns going off and everything. Like it's a war zone, and it definitely has like a hard beat. They mention, he mentions Body Rot, which is like one of my favorite Bone Thugs and Harmony songs. Love Body Rot. Body Rot, Body Rot, Body Rot. And like you also hear like bloody murder, bloody, like, you know, so it's like they're sampling their own stuff, or well, it's weird because like he's on his own now, right? But like, you know, he's sampling the group's collaborative stuff, and I think that that's kind of cool. Like he's kind of like tying that together, and so I really like that. And also, you know, he's talking about where my thugs at. So I feel like those are people who have been with him since the beginning and would have gone through the Bone Thugs and Harmony like group, you know, experience. So I feel like that's like a nice thing to do, to like kind of acknowledge your past. You know, kind of, I don't know, it just feels right. And so I like that you know, playing into that kind of sound. And then just, you know, some real battle shit going on. So it's cool. Honestly, like, I can't tell you everything he said. And I'm not going to read you all the lyrics. Because he just goes really, really fast. Like, he's like, you know, he spits pretty quickly on this one. But overall, I really like the sound of it. And it makes me feel like a badass when I listen to it. So I give it a 4.5 on 5.
I don't like this one that much. It might have also been like the frame of mind listening to it, because this is a lot of Krayzie Bone, and so let's say there are better ones that are quick. I just think there are a lot more better ones than this one. It felt like when I was describing in the last part ones, we could have like cut off the album, and I think it would have made no difference. I don't know. It felt like, you know what it reminds me of is just the way, like, you know, how like Shoot the Club Up has this hype start, and then it's just like by the end of it you're like, it wasn't that hype. And then in this way it's like, fuck, where my thugs at? And you're like, yeah. And then really as the song went on and he did his thing.
I mean, I think this is better than
it's not like the production's bad, but when I think about like all the tracks right before it, because if we think about what comes right before this, you've got all those crazy features, stuff like Big Pun, you know, a lot of great shits come through. You get this skit. It's like we're starting part 2 of the album, and it's like weak ass Heated Heavy. That's what this feels like to me.
I mean, I thought it was good. I didn't hate this one.
So it's not hatred. It feels like a B-side. Is really my impression. It feels like a lackluster version of stuff I had previously been listening to.
Fair enough. If it is on the B-side, it's probably like one of my like top 2 favorites. Like there's really like nothing that's like on like the second part.
So on disc 2, I liked a lot of different tracks, as you can check so far. There's a bunch of them that I found were really good, but I found the ones where he didn't have features were a little bit not as... It's not that they're bad songs. In and of themselves, they're fine. But I guess, like many people, when you have the choice of like some really banging tracks on the first parts of this project. And then you get to this one. You're almost like, you know what? I'd rather just go back and listen to that earlier one. And I think this is the curse of the length of this album. It's like there's nothing new in Where My Thugz At for me to like sink my teeth into.
It also came out like, I just want to like, you know, put your mind into like the moment when it came out or whatever. Like, this is when like CD players and like Discmans were like super like popular and like started to be like a cool thing, and everybody had them, and you know, whatever. Like, and so I think it was also the capability to skip a song, because you couldn't do that on a tape. Like, you had to like physically sit there and play and like stop it, play and stop it, play and stop it, play and stop it. So you can kind of jump back and forth a little bit more.
For a few years at this point.
But I mean, I lived through all of that, and like, I mean, I probably bought my first CD in like 1997.
That's fair. I'm saying, sure, CD technology made it easier to skip, but then if we go to that logic, I don't feel as compelled to put disc 2 in, because you're limited to the one disc you have. Anyway, so that would just be another point on CDs and tapes and shit. I guess this would have been 2 tapes with 4 sides.
Yeah.
So like lyrically it's all fine though. I feel like we've commented so much on the content of it, like forward march, pull your weapon, aim directly for the heart, buck the brain and make sure everything stop and listen to the shells drop as we stayed and popping round after off, trumpets fade around us. And they're on a mission and they're gonna kill who they gotta kill, and you know, they basically are ready for war, and at the end of the day it's another battle cry. And you're right, the beat is illustrious and shit, but I guess part of it is just the saturation of this one message drilled into my head over and over and over again. From a mission statement mentality, like if you're trying to make the anthem for the thug mentality in 1999 and you're just drilling that shit home, preparing for war, yeah, on that point of view I can see why we end up at this point where this is kind of like the main message drilled through. It's just so hard to be like find it, I guess, interesting from a reviewer point of view. But on the other hand, let's say this came on and it just played, I'd be fine with it. Would I seek this one out? Absolutely not. I feel like Heated Heavy gives me everything I need out of this one.
Okay.
Like, really, like, it's the same genre of shit, but that one's banging, and this one's weak by comparison. And that's my thoughts. Y'all can disagree in the comments. I don't think there's a whole bunch of shit in this track that I can comment on. Like, again, it's we're gonna call it for the rest of this album review what we've discussed already, and almost to the same verbiage, right? And that's part of the problem I think I'm having with this album. Is like we have like an example of somebody like, I don't know, Run the Jewels by comparison. They might talk about the same thing over and over again, but just the sheer creativity that goes into diverse fucking bars makes it like invigorating. Or take a Griselda, where it's literally just a sea of fucking the same bars, but they managed to just literally use different words most of the time to make it fucking flared up. I feel like we've got actual cases on this project of just repetition.
Yeah.
Like, he recorded 150 songs in a short period of time, and you can only humanly come up with so many flows and bars in that period to be like distinct. Is it impressive that Krayzie Bone put together this absolutely wonderful collection of well-enunciated... Yeah, all of it.
And we love it.
I didn't know why people trimmed albums down until I really heard this project, though. This is almost the case point for not doing this. And I know it sounds kind of off, and I'm not trying to be mean. This is such a lame start to the review, but I gave this a 4.15. I really couldn't get into it. For a contrast, the next 2 tracks, in case you were curious, I gave a 4.5 and a 4.75 to. So for me, it went right the fuck up in dopeness. But, I mean, this one wasn't it for me. Anyway, so now pretend we've talked about the following 9 tracks, because we did that in part 3.
Yep.
So we may as well move on to a sad song, Skit. This is an exact example of a fresh-ass track that we needed on this project to add some spice of life into it. There's no way this album would be as good without this song, by example. Now, keep in mind, a little bit of flashback. I thought Won't Ease Up Tonight was another B-side, 4.15. But this one comes in with that, I don't know what he's sampling, but I know the song he's sampling. Like I know what he's coming from, but I can't like place it.
Okay.
And just that cool guitar-y or whatever the fuck it is.
It made me
riff.
think of like a Santana-y kind of feel.
But it has
so
like
maybe.
a vibe, right? It just so left field. It's like, ooh, that's nice. And then just his flow and everything, it's a little bit different. Like, shit, I've been a thug my whole motherfucking life, struggling, doing what the fuck I gotta do to survive. Bottom line, thug line. Fine. That's fair. All of the tracks get that kind of intro. But then you see me on a TV, but you don't really know me. Don't know the story of the warrior and how I survived this game with this heavier, morose tone of singing voice. Like, you can feel the weight to it. And I'm like, right off the jump, it's like, oh, yeah, the man. Like, the actual man. I'm curious about that man. And so that's kind of what it feels like. This is like peeling back some of the bravado we've gotten on most of this album.
Yeah.
You know, hearing about how he's 17, he's leaving the house, he needs his own. People done tried to be grown and fucked around. Now he's homeless on the streets with his people. He learned about every drug, heroin, the weed, all of it. And you just get this empathy. It was like this other side of his life that, like, it just hit me in the feels. You know, hearing his struggle and everything. And it's kind of a sad song, right? And that's really what it is. It's a sad song of him lamenting on where he comes from, adding into the bigger picture of why there's so many Leatherface, I'm gonna fuck you up tracks that we have on this project. And I think it just adds a beauty, like almost like a yang to the yin, or however you would put it.
Okay.
And I like the outro, the I hope it won't be long. I hope it won't be long before I end this song. And then just kind of like I need to end this song, this sad song. It just cuts off, right? It's short, and it's like he got in touch with his emotions. Something it almost feels like he's not that comfortable actually doing here, and shared that with us. And I thought it was just a beautiful little snippet into like the soul of Krayzie Bone, with a distinct flow, because it's not like playing into the same tones he'd been using over and over again. It's just like this fresh emotional blast to something I could really dig. So I gave it a 4.5. Truly enjoyable little snippet. Track 30. The fact that there are 4.5s at track 30 though, you gotta understand, that's a lot of tracks in a row that I've listened to this man go. So I really do think this project could have got away with like 28 tracks and been like an absolutely stellar project as like an in-between.
Yeah. Just a heads up. Pretty much for like the rest of the album, the grades kind of are around the same.
How could you not like this one?
I'm not saying 4. I don't think is a terrible grade. It's just not my favorite. You know, like anyways, so that's what I gave this one. I gave it a 4. Surprise, surprise. So this one has like a slower beat, and I like the kind of like record scratching kind of feeling to it. I like that. You know, he talks about the fact that he used to be poor and he did what he could to survive, and he learned about drugs, you know, maybe from firsthand experiences, you know, and, you know, it seems like sometimes he didn't have a home. You know, he's a tough guy, and even, you know, though times were hard, he knew how to keep going. He knew what he needed to accomplish and, you know, go after. And, he like you said, he has to end the sad song because even he can't stand listening to the sad story. And yeah, it's exactly it. It is quite introspective. We're kind of, you know, looking in, and even he's kind of like, no, I don't want to like listen to that. Like, that's just some sad shit. So I feel like, you know, that's probably why he did do a lot of the drugs he did do, or whatever, or because, you know, to try to suppress, you know, the sadness that was in him. So obviously, like, this is like him kind of like opening up a little bit. So I mean, it's nice in that sense. I give it 4 out of 5. It's fine.
That's okay. Let's move on to what I just wasn't expecting. Let's talk about I Still Believe / Pure Imagination.
All right.
From what I can gather, and I gathered a little bit, the Mariah Carey version of this track, produced by Damiza, which seems to be separate than the one I could find for the Thug Mentality 1999 album. And again, I saw on YouTube, so I struggled to find the real truths here. Somebody like, I'm certain, like, DJ Black Hurricane probably owns the vinyls and can go fucking clarify shit. But, I mean, there's a version with Debrat in the music video, and then there was no Debrat in the version that seemed to come from the album version. Then I listened to I Still Believe by Mariah Carey, and it sounds nothing like this song at all. Am I wrong? Do you know that? Do you know Mariah Carey? Like, I don't really think Mariah Carey's...
I mean, I know what she sounds like, and I know, like,
find a pure imagination song, and I wasn't sure whose track this really was.
Yeah.
It was not clear. And it's not my cup of tea. I don't know, like, baby, I still believe, and it's more than my imagination. I'm like,
it sounds very like it should be in like a musical or something like that.
It sounds like Krayzie Bone wanted to get his dick wet, and he wrote some shit that somebody told him would get girls to get down on their knees and open up the mouth, because this just sounds like panty dropper shit.
Okay.
You get Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
On your shit.
And she's, giving you full Mariah Carey. So.
I don't like her. And then you have him singing with her. If you still. And you're like, oh, I see what you're doing here. You're getting laid off this track. I can't figure it out. This song is not great. Because it's just a corny ass fucking R&B love song.
Yep.
Krayzie Bone does a great delivery. I'm not going to criticize him. Look, it is stimulating on this album. It is much better than Shoot the Club Up within the realms of what it is.
Okay, yeah.
But I don't like Mariah Carey. Her voice bothers me so very much. I know that's an unpopular opinion, and like half the dudes my age and older want to fuck her, and so I don't find her that attractive either. And like, her voice is just annoying to me. Maybe it's Christmas.
Well, she does have
and
that.
She just ruined Christmas for me, because her fucking trash-ass Christmas album is basically coveted by the white peoples in my life. All the white peoples in my life love that album. 100% of them. Except me. I don't like Christmas music. I just want some banging-ass good Christmas music. And nobody
every year, it's the same argument.
It's like, her... All I want for... Shut the fuck up, Mariah Carey. I can't stand it. And then that voice comes on.
She does have that, excruciatingly high, pitch that she can do. So,
look,
I mean, maybe it's, not good for everybody.
So many people love her. I just don't. And look, Krayzie Bone's fine. I'm still a believer it is, so stop, just listen and look in my eyes. I want you to visualize and realize and see that it ain't ever going to be easy being Krayzie Bone. To bitches that running out there with that persuasion running up on my brain won't go insane. I figured that's why they be calling me crazy, because I still maintain. Weird game, weird flex. Let's break that down for a quick minute. He still believes in love. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So just take a quick gander to stop and look him in his eyes. And then I hear, look into my eyes and tell me what is it? And you're like, okay.
Well, he's always wearing sunglasses.
No, but just that track from Art of War. Look, because he did like half the hooks on Art of War. So it's like easy for him to just come in and do them. And then I want you to visualize. So I want you to look into my eyes and fantasize about our future and picture the things. And then come to the epiphany and realization that it's not easy to be me. I'm like, what? You had her all set up. And then you were like, but I'm a troubled... to be fair, now that I think about it, good flex, Krayzie. Good flex. Troubled soul does attract. It worked for me. To bitches that running out there with that persuasion running up in my brain.
Okay.
That's true. So now all these girls is whatever. We're going to struggle through all them hard times, and I can tell you that peace and happiness is hard to find. Come on, we can get there. And then I'm like, oh, damn, eh? You're telling her that she's worth the effort, and together you're going to find, like, the utopia world through the grind of dedication. I'm like, Krayzie Bone. That is some romance. I don't know, you guys weren't expecting me to go there with it, but Krayzie's dropping the words. What can I say? Mm-hmm. But then, he's not trying to make excuses or reasons, but these demons got me seeing things that's really misleading me. Baby, that's just my life. Baby, I'm just a thug, cold-hearted, but I can feel the love. And I'm like, this is really a thug love song. I'm a thug, but I need love too.
Yeah.
And I'm worth the love. And then the next thing we will make it, and I say yeah and uh-huh.
I think we know what that means.
Well, I was more like, I feel like, is that your inability to communicate? Because you just dropped an eloquent verse.
I think that's just him doing his couple of thrusts and then like collapsing on her.
And then the brat shows up in the music video. I know you'd be missing every bit of the feeling you get when you used to hit this shit. respect. Da Brat's ex. You used to fuck Da Brat, and now you don't.
Yeah, you're missing it.
You're missing it. Because can't nobody fuck like me. Okay, I'll never know. So it's good to know that Da Brat has great sex game. They owning my business and vicious lies can lead to innocent victims losing their lives for greed. Real sounds nice. And effectively showing how if you get up in our business, shit's bad. Paparazzi invading my privacy. Obviously, it's prophecy in an article. And I'm like, what is this about? Is people mad at her? Like, so effectively, she seems to have some old dramas going on.
Yeah.
It feels very out of place.
And dated.
Out of fucking place on this, not out of this song. And so I don't know if Da Brat is included in this or not. Anyway, I give it a 4 on 5. It's an experience, but it just feels so forced and put together, but well produced. And if you love Mariah, I'm sure you love it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, so I didn't see this feature coming. Like, I mean, it definitely kind of comes out of nowhere. And it's like having, like Britney Spears on your album or something, but like maybe not quite as poppy as she is, but like still, like it just seems like very, I don't know, convenient maybe? I don't know what the term is. Or she was available and they were like, cool, let's do a song together. I don't know how it happened. It would be cool to hear about that. Yeah, and, just kind of like no matter what people say, they can be together. Like I already mentioned, Mariah has this, super high-pitched wailing that she does, and she does that in the background of this song. So there's that. So if you don't like, or whatever it is, I'm sorry for people on earbuds or whatever. But it's just like, it's not a bad song. It just kind of sounds like something you would hear on an R&B slow jams of the 90s, like radio station or something, but there is talent still on this song, so you can't hate it for that. So it's just kind of, I don't know, it's not bad. I gave it a 4.2 on 5.
It did not belong on this album.
But sometimes you need some thug love. I don't know.
It just didn't belong here. It
and
felt
some pure imagination.
This is literally the most sellout shit on this album.
Yeah.
I think that's
for sure.
my big issue with it. It's okay though.
You gotta make your money.
Cause we starving?
Yeah.
This song has features, and to me, it's instantly a step up. Plus, I just wasn't really expecting to talk about Gangsta Boo twice in the same week, but she is on Run the Jewels 4, and it's a great feature. If you haven't heard Walking in the Snow, I highly recommend that track. It's super dope. But Gangsta Boo's back here. E40's up in here.
Yeah.
And before I give it to Bonnie, I just have to say about E40, this is a guy who has done the same thing forever. Literally, just that way he raps, the way his voice is, it's the same shit on almost every song. But unlike Krayzie Bone, E40 could literally say the same thing. Just read the phone book at me on every song and he'd be like, John Smith, and a way that I flip it this. And he'd just be like, yeah, read me that number. 487-296. And he'd just be like, I can't really do it well, but y'all know what I mean. He would just make the phone book.
He can only do one thing, but he does it so well that you don't mind listening to it over and over.
To give him all the credit in the world, he's actually just a great lyricist and a great rhymer. And his bars are always innovative and interesting. And the man spits real business game and shit. Still producing to this day. So there's no disrespect to his lyricism. But from a flow perspective, I feel like I've listened to E40 now across every decade of his career, different songs, and you can just blindly pick an E40 verse and it'll be that weird-ass flow that he does, and I love it every time. I love E40's voice. I think he has one of the coolest voices in the game. Coolest flows, too. Nobody is E40. He's so iconically himself in a way that Snoop Dogg is iconically himself, and there are very few people who can really come through and just be that iconically themselves in a way where you don't need to check the features when you hear Snoop. You don't need to check the features when you hear E40. I'll give it to Gangsta Boo. You can pretty much tell when Gangsta Boo's on a track too. That also might just be a lack of ladies in the game.
Yeah.
All right, what do you think about this one? 4 and 5. I didn't like it because all the grades now suck.
They don't suck. They're just lower than normal, I guess.
This song's a banger.
Anyways, so it has a familiar sounding beat to this one. I liked E40. He was okay. He was talking about, struggling in the hood and just kind of that. And then we've got, Gangsta Boo, and she's good. She does a great job. And, she kind of talks about the fact that she grew up in, like, this kind of wildlife and everything. And, like, that they do what they can to make money. And it's a dangerous life. I mean, nothing really new. So,
E40's here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Okay. Yeah.
E40's verse alone is stellar and worth like more criticism and commentary than. It's the same thing.
4.2.
That's better than a 4. Nah, E40's fire. Like honestly, you're looking at living proof. Renovated, condemned, duplex, pots and pans, leased in a roof. Just the way he describes it, just the imagery, his choice of words, the way he puts it together. It's just so fresh, right? He's just the surviving impact of what came from this environment. Dirty dishes, right. No dishwashing soap, no medical coverage, bad case of strep throat. Mama thinks she got arthritis. My neighbor caught hepatitis from a simple yawn. They say it's airborne. Right there. The fear of disease and misinformation in the hood and the lack of... And this is like all that he's just described. Some random shit. Just strew together a picture of the anxiety and chaos in the environment that he's coming from through a whole bunch of shit where he hasn't actually mentioned shooting anybody or anything like that. Instead, just describe some environmental things like his building and a couple medical conditions and the lack of medical care that gets addressed right there. The fact that nobody can actually get help or get soap because that's how bad the situation is. Mm-hmm. That's interesting to me. Anyway, the whole rest of the verse falls through. And then just take a trip through Vallejo, Richmond, and Oakland. These are particular hoods where bad things may go down. Mm-hmm. Every day it's a funeral. They're okay, fine. Now we're maybe back in line with a lot of it. But the way you contextualize the physical environment first, bringing into the more complicated things, it eludes everything without saying anything directly. Okay. That's pretty beautiful in the poetry on how he did it. I can't be ignored. Okay. Anyway, all I know is he was stressing, taking antidepressants. They found him dead in the trunk of his Cadillac, and I'm so enthralled that all I can think about is revenge. Always check up, always pulling licks, doing dirty works for dividends. So yeah, at this point, he's just considering his friend who died. He knew there were some situations going on, and they found him. And it's not clear what happened. It isn't clear if it was a suicide or if it was a gang-related situation, but it kind of implies it could have been anything. So I actually really thought E40's verse stood the fuck out and was really amazing. Anyway, but it turns out actually he took the bullet for me. I'm the one that really robbed the place, so I guess we find out immediately after it was a specific situation. But the fact that E40 went through and did a crime and then his friend died and I guess he has to live with that consequence is fucking interesting, right? Because this is how the game gets played. It's not exactly what I think we've been getting before. Mm-hmm. In fact, it just kind of hits. And then when Krayzie Bone comes through with the chorus, it just adds like an extra layer. Then yeah, Gangsta Boo kind of goes through like, I'm pretty hard and I'll give it to you. Her verse is not maybe as comment-worthy as I would say Krayzie's isn't either because of the fact that we've said it so many times in the same vein and it hits that kind of generic side of shit. But just the way that they flow on it, I mean, Krayzie Bone gives a stellar performance. Like I said, you up against E40, you bring in your A game and it's reflected into it because he's doing that shit like people mad at the world. I put my mask on my face and grabbed a magnum pistol and then stash in the bag and doing a pop, so drop and take it as a loss and chalk it. Now you can take your life and keep on walking. He does that more complicated, like exaggerated flow shit, and I love it. I think it sounds real good. Anyway, overall, I just think E40 really carries the song, and everybody else does their end proper. So I give it a 4.5 on 5. I really could see myself going back to this should it ever appear on a streaming service that I can consume it in a convenient way because YouTube's a data whore. All I have to say, who's ready to talk about marijuana? Smoke and burn.
Okay.
This is a strange one. I don't even know like what genre we're playing in really. Yeah. It just kind of went in a direction where I'm like, this sounds good. Like it does. But I don't like it that much.
Yeah.
It's just a weird stoner song. I feel like it's tapping into some Caribbean shit.
Yeah, like I couldn't figure out like where.
It's just out of the purview of
like
my
it's a little ska-y,
familiarity.
Like, yeah.
And it just, there's not a lot to it. It's just an atmospheric smoke and burn. And you're just like, okay. And then like it's really like the music is really layered and like a whole lot goes on, but nothing happens in this song. It honestly just sounds like they got really high and vibed.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And then just to go back to like the quoting, the why do I stay high? You know, like it kind of reminded me of that other one. And I don't know. I feel like literally there's a bunch of bars, but they're just really boring weed bars. Like I've got to get away for a while to ease my head. Take another blunt to get blunted. Like,
blunted?
So I just toke till I choke. Come on, roll, let's get stoned. And I get the solidarity of it, and I get, like I said, the efforts, how tracks like this move towards the legalization situation that we're in right now, and blah, 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 blah. But gosh, this is just another one for the giant collections of aimless weed songs that bring nothing to the table or conversation outside of a general airiness of music directly
If you have a weed playlist, I wouldn't add this one.
Well, here's the thing. If you're really, really under the influence...
Unless it's for everything.
Really, really under the influence, and you're sitting there with headphones on, I bet the way the beat bounces around, it's nice.
Okay.
But it's a vibe.
Like, it is, like, very easy and kind of flowy in, like, that sense.
I never listen to anything like that. It's not really interesting to me. It's not my favorite. But objectively, it's a nice song. It's airy. It's just... I don't like weed songs like that, personally. So it's already got some strikes against it. But the production and the way they write it sonically, all the pieces are there. Like, I recognize this is a well-made song. So I give it a 4.25. Because I can also just tell that it may just be like jazz, right? It took me like 2 years to start to get into jazz and almost 3 years to like, okay, I like jazz now, sort of. I don't like jazz per se, but I like jazzy beats now.
Right.
And that took almost 3 years of exposure. So this is just some shit that in 2 years I could see myself really vibing to in a way where I think it's just the newness that is keeping me from properly appreciating it.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, we have got the feature Up in the Clouds on this one, which I thought was kind of a random name, you know, a stage name. Just saying that. And I wasn't sure, like, if I was actually, like, a fan of hers, like, if I enjoyed listening to her. Like, she sounded sort of like a Gwen Stefani knockoff. That's kind of why we're kind of getting, like, the ska-y type feel a little bit to it. It's, you know, sort of, like, at that era of music. And really, it's just the same old topic, you know, about smoking weed, nothing, you know, new and exciting. At this point, like, I was definitely feeling a little bit bored with this album. So I gave it a 3.8 on 5.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't have anything really to defend. I think objectively it's musically well put together, but from an interest perspective,
it is what it is.
All right, we can move on then to
Power.
It's like we got a girl on this one who's there.
Thug Queen. Now that name makes sense.
The chorus is fine. I got the power to the people, got the power, let's ride. And you know what? I'm feeling it, right, in that regard. It's a good motivational tune. It feels very proactive, which was something... This reminded me a little bit of the protests, almost, that we went to recently in regards to its proactivity and, like, kind of that kind of feel to it. So I did enjoy this track more than some of the other ones that in this vein, but it might not be the easiest one to like comment as much on. But how do you feel about it?
I mean, I don't have that much to say at all about this song. Again, a lot more of like topics we've already covered, war on the streets, blah blah blah. I liked Thug Queen. I thought she was good. She did a good job. Unfortunately, at this point, when I was like listening to the album, I was very bored of this album, which was like, you know, I was like, well, this is why people don't make 40-track albums. Yeah, and
we're gonna do that Killer Priest one. That's double disc. We will.
One day.
Just hit that like button and leave a Killer Priest comment.
No. Yeah, anyways, I'm out of things to say. It was a 4 on 5 for me.
When I got to the part where Krayzie Bone's like, I think I got the power that can take over the world, you see. Look, I'm trying to live forever with this destiny, man. I'm trying to start some shit, a person deep in this army shit, and if you feel it, you can march with this. We got a million thugs, strong stomping. I'm ready to pump, and dump the enemies in the trunk, fuck them. But what I felt here was almost that sense of the unity and the call. And then if you add in the more biblical tone that we're getting from Thug Queen, where it's like God's with us and we riding through as like the true righteous warriors, and then you just kind of look look into this, like, it's almost like a battle cry for the people to come together. So when I think back to just everyone on the streets and it all come together, like a track like this really has that anthemic, build you up kind of feel to it. It's uplifting. Sonically, it hits in fresh. It isn't exactly the same vein of what we've been getting. From a tone, it feels like a really good late song for this album project. Like, we've done the battle cry. We've come through with so many songs hyping us up with some threats and all this shit. And this one's just kind of to lift your spirits a bit and feel like we can actually win for a second, you know?
Okay,
And
fair enough.
We do get some fucking kind of repetitiveness to it. Like, he literally says body rot in this shit. Like, brings it back in. And again, it's cool, like, in the sense that he's running through it, but like, he's running through his references towards his older tracks and his materials, and these were all kind of ideas that would have been running through. And when they're freestyling and shit on the block, I imagine that it's a lot of these bars over and over again. But how many times can you really listen to Krayzie Bone say heat or 9 milli, or just 9 milli on an album before you're like, okay, I need a little breaksy poo?
Yeah.
I think, you get it.
Yeah.
But there's just some great lines on, like, it's just a great vibe on this track is I guess what I'm trying to say. I felt it was more uplifting, and so I give it a 4.5 on 5. I thought it was really strong. And again, he has the feature. It adds some strength to it, and I really like that.
Well, that's the way.
I
like it. So this one time, we hit up this place.
So the real question that I'm going to ask for Al, and this is just for see who's actually in the middle of this. Do you guys watch Busy Bone Snitch Time? Because if you want to talk about Snitch Time,
hilarious.
Busy Bone has got a new side hustle where he just kind of tells all sorts of behind the scenes stories, and in a lot of ways it could be branded as, okay, you know when those
He spills the tea.
blonde chicks have story time with a glass of wine?
That's
it's
him.
literally
It's literally
that.
what he does with a glass of wine.
With the glass of wine.
He's always drunk. He's always
And
drinking.
Kind of.
Well, maybe not drunk, but he's drinking.
It is one of the strangest things I found on YouTube, and I could not recommend more taking an hour of your life and going down story time with Busy Bone. Because it's so weird to watch this man. This man, like, go, anyway.
So then we robbed this guy.
Yeah, no,
and then,
straight up. It's
and
just,
then this happened.
And sure, statute of limitations lets you talk about crimes and it's all good, but it just feels so weird.
Yeah.
Like, and he just wants to tell you every fucking
But it's
story.
funny.
Because you can see him holding back, and he just wants to tell you it all, like a little gossipy girl.
Yeah.
And that's why it's hilarious.
Yeah.
This one, I was like, I'm kind of at this point really feeling the weight. And you know what the problem was? When I reviewed it, I did it all good. But every time I've re-listened to the album to, like, come back into the vibe of it, I get to this, and I'm like, I don't even remember what I just listened to in the little part where it cuts. Like, I can't remember this track at all. I give it a 4.25 because, I mean, it sounds good and whatnot and relative to everything else. And I do feel like this track has more of a story-driven element to it now that I'm looking at the lyrics, you know. So come follow me. Back in the day, we were still thugging, nothing changed. Always into something, whatever your name, a young thug with my it's one love, little badass, sneaky, a calm, collected slickster. I might not have been on the scene, but you can believe I was in the picture. So he kind of has this description of somebody that's going on. And anyway, he kind of... as the story goes on, his dreams are getting further away as he gets caught up in the life, I imagine. And so now he's on the corner thugging, he's trying to make some money, he gets caught up in some shit, doesn't want to get locked in no cell, but he can't take strip-ins and be broke with no mail. Yes, it's hell. But then they say it gets easier, but to me it only gets deeper and deeper. So you get this whole context of this guy who's like caught up into the world and getting drawn into it and whatever. And then you get like almost the chorus, that's the way we hustle because we struggle every day, pain, so much pain, and it repeats a bunch of time. Then he turns 18, he catches his first case, he gets incarcerated, and you know, trying to come up with some money, makes a mistake. You know, fucking with shotguns was a problem, even though they were just out to rob and whatnot. It's kind of mad. Then he kind of popped a guy, and then those guys came and took him to emergency, and then the cops came and arrested him. So, you know, just kind of doing what he said he's going to do on the rest of this album, but also kind of showing the actual consequences to that. He doesn't really mean it, but it's almost like, you know, kind of fucked, you know. Basically, he got recovered and everything, but he didn't even press charges, but the state still found out about it, and because of that, they're going after for Krayzie Bone anyway. And the judge isn't giving him love, and he's getting locked up, and it's just not a good situation. Then in the last verse, he's kind of describing the state of mind being being in jail, and kind of counting down to the whole situation. And honestly, it is a really good story. And he eventually kind of breaks out, and everything's cool because of his peeps, and so it's kind of fun, and it's good in that regard. But it just also shows the consequences of the lifestyle from a more systemic issue. So in that regard, it's really good, and it's a fucking shame I can't remember shit except for what the lyrics, and I knew it was like my notes kind of gave me some cues here to remind me of what was up. But it's a 4.25, not because of anything other than it's a good song I can't remember. But I know that while I listen to it, all of the same reasons that would make me give any song a 4.25 are there, you know?
Okay, well, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, it's struggle. You know, he talks about the fact that he was struggling, hustling, you know, that usual kind of stuff. Just wanted a chance when he was like out there hustling. You know, he just wanted to do his thing. He doesn't want to go to jail. He makes that clear, you know, because he talks about that he had actually gone to jail and is very thankful that he, you know, made it to the other side, you know, is free now. And he's trying to, like, you know, make a change. And yeah, just sort of like the reality of, you know, his unfortunate upbringing, I guess. It's another like honest one. It's good, but the sound wasn't for me. So I gave this one a 3.8 on 5.
All right, let's move on to another feature-heavy one, Armageddon. So this one's all right. It feels grandiose. The beat's really, like, in that regard, it almost feels like they read Revelations and were prophesizing on the end of the world, so Armageddon's coming, and it's cool. It features Souljah Boy, who is not the same as...
Different Souljah Boy.
You! Not that Souljah Boy. And now keep in mind, I like Souljah Boy for one reason, because I can be like, Holden boy up in a hot, what me? Yeah, that's right. My name rhymes with Souljah Boy, and I can sing that. Every time I sing a Souljah Boy song, it's like, it's just HoldenBoyXL.com. I'm just saying, it's always my name. It makes it much more fun. But yeah, it's all right, man. It's Armageddon. Pay attention. You better recognize the end's coming. I'll be wishing it wasn't time to die. It's in that regard. Yeah. It's playing very much into this. You know, take it seriously. Get your kids together. Pay attention. New kingdom's coming. New world order. You know, it's kind of like we're going to have to be ready for it. Murder's coming. The bad shit's coming. Police are killing us. It's a fucking problem. And, you know, I say all this, and then you look around America right now. And it took a while to get to maybe some more escalated points, but I am not convinced that the current situation de-escalates quickly. I think we may elevate. I think some real shit might still go down once certain people realize that a lot of other people are now talking that weren't previously talking. So it's kind of interesting to see almost what he's saying here, and then seeing the boiling pot a couple of decades later and the fruition of all this rage that's being documented again and not looked at. It's really good. My favorite part is actually just the Mo Hart biblical prophecy sounding shit at the end, like, and there shall be great earthquakes and the sun shall become as black as sackcloth. Like, I'm pretty sure the man's reading out of fucking Revelations and some shit like that, one of those prophecy situations, and it's really good. I really enjoyed it. I thought this was a decent track. I gave it a 4.25 because it wasn't like next level standout, but it was enjoyable to listen to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I mean, it's like a good, it's a decent song. You know, I don't know. I don't have too many notes. Souljah Boy is hard, and I find that he is a good fit for this album. You know, that Souljah Boy. You know, and it is like survive or die. You know, Krayzie comes in, he's fine. You know, again, nothing really new there. The world is ending and you better get ready. And I think that's also like ties into, again, this is like right before Y2K in 2000 when it was going to just like the world was going to end and, you know, all of that stuff. So I think it kind of ties into that. And also fuck the police, and they want the police to leave them alone, which is totally fair. And so that's what we are still trying to do today. So it's fine. 3.9 on 5.
All right, there are two more for us still to talk about. I can't promise my enthusiasm gets higher here. We are coming up to the end of this, but Murda Mo. That might be what the dislike button looks like on this one. Find out just now if Krayzie Bone slept with Mariah Carey, because we just want to listen to a little interview where he says no. He says he doesn't want to, but you know he wants to, and she turned him down.
Ooh.
That's what I took from a little Krayzie Bone, but he's real respectful about it too. Apparently, one of the Bones has, and it wasn't going to clarify which one, I'm going to go with busy, enjoyed with a belt smacking the ladies' derrieres before and after a show. And I'm like, that's a cool ritual. Anyway.
Okay.
This one was cool in a weird beat. Like, it's a really weird, like, it kind of stands out because it feels like a 90s dance beat. Like, it just feels of the era in terms of being dated in regards to the sound. And overall, it's fine. I don't know if there's a whole lot more I can comment on the lyrics. It's in the same vein as a lot more of that bone shit.
You know what it is.
But it does come at it from a different one. Like, they get me, stick me, play haters, they be quick when they pull out their weapon. Ouija would never deceive me. It's keeping me deep. They all be me victim. Y'all gonna fall when I call my dogs. I'll be ready anytime you want to go, etc. And it's calling for murder, and it's just kind of doing it over. And it feels like, you know, a decent Bone Thugs track. It feels like a callback to it. And it's all right. I don't know that, again, I have any more I can really comment on it. It's dope in regards to listening to it. I think it's another 4.25. It's enjoyable to listen to, but at the same time, it's so deep on the album. I just can't see a lot of people being like, this is the Krayzie Bone / Bone Thug song I'm going to go put on.
Yeah.
And the sea of all of their music. Like, I feel like there's just versions of this, like, you know, Mo Murda.
Yeah, per se, yeah.
It would be one I enjoyed more than Murda Mo. So it's not that I dislike this track, it's just that it's not substantial enough to stand out, but objectively, it's still a good song. But, like, I was giving Mo Murda, like, a 4.55 range, whereas this is, like, less good in that 4 to 4.25. I'm going to give it a 4.25. It is a distinct sounding song, but...
Yeah. I mean, exactly like what you said. You know, I mean, Mo Murder is one of, like, you know, Bone Thugs and Harmony songs, and, like, so it's really, like, not much of, like, a stretch for, like, the topic and the title and, you know, everything. I like the beat on this one. It's all right. It's really just exactly what you would expect it to be. You know, don't let the cops catch you. You know, he's driving around looking for people if a drive-by, you know, is convenient and necessary. You know, and he's just kind of like, you know, if people are stupid enough to go after me and my crew, then they are going to mess you up. And it's what they know, and it's what they're good at. And now we can listen to Busy telling us all the stories of that era. So it's really classic in, like, the Bone Thugs and Harmony style. But that's about it. I gave it a 4.2 on 5.
Fair enough. There is the last one for us to discuss, and it's Revolution. In my opinion, this song is greatly enhanced by the addition of the Marley Brothers, bringing in their vibes and just kind of giving us something a little different to listen to. The music of this track is something just a little bit different to listen to.
And I find it's a nice way to end the album.
Yeah, and this is a great closer. I honestly, I feel like after the kind of lukewarm last few songs, it's such a refreshing, and, like, you're kind of happy that we get something so powerful that he saved this for the end. Anyway. So it's a cool way to close it. It almost, like, redeems some of the length a little bit. And it's cool because, like, revolution in my heart of it tearing us apart. We've been wasting so much time. Revolution on my mind. Everyday problems in the world, they maximize and tell me how much blood must be shed or realize things and times get drastic. Revolution is the only way. And you're like, you listening to it, you listen to them say this again 20 years ago, and then you think about the world today. You think about the pain that gets expressed and just how blatant and point it is. Like, the reason there is a revolution in my heart is this world, and this is the only way forward, because at the end of the day, life is what it is. The systemic problems are what they are, and we don't change it, and we all got to be soldiers. And then Krayzie has his take, you know. He comes in rapping, and it's really nice. It's a slower vibe, and I think he actually does really good slow raps when he comes in. So I want to talk about revolution. Should we talk about a revolution? A revolution? Come on, I think it's time. It's already 1999. It's real. We ready for it. We sick and tired. We ready tonight. We gonna ride, etc. And just in the context of everything, I suppose you think about the conditions that get described, the pain that gets put onto this album, a lot of the world, the more we've learned about the problems, the systemic issues. And I understand where he's coming from a lot. So I feel like just in the beauty in this track, it's proper. And then it just ends with the get up, get up, get up, get up, my soldiers ride. Where it's like, it starts off like you're ready to go, you know, and then it just ends with this, we're still ready to go. And this album just kind of has this fluid experience of grind with a couple of pitfalls along the way. But anyway, I don't have a lot more to comment on it. It's a nice way to end it. And I give it a 4.5 on 5.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this one is pretty interesting, and, like, I mean, I don't think this is, like, the first time I've, like, specifically listened to, like, the Marley Brothers, but, like, I mean, I've heard them, and, like, you know, basically the exact same sound as Bob, you know, but kind of mixed in with, like, this kind of, like, hip-hop song, so it's kind of cool, like, to have, like, that, you know, those two sounds, and Time to Have a Revolution, and, you know, it's very much in, like, that reggae, vibe. Except they are shooting the cops now, which, you know, switching things up, and fair enough, because, I mean, if the cops are always shooting at you, eventually you might shoot back. So something has got to stop this war that's happening on the streets, you know, like, it's just like this constant, you know, battle that's going on between the police and, the, you know, the people on the streets, and, like, then, you know, there's violence happening between the people on the streets, so I don't know, and the whole mess is just a whole mess. And just it's time to change the situation, and, you know, it's good. I feel like I had a little bit more, like, hopes for this one with, like, the Marley Brothers being featured on it, but it was, like, still, like, just, like, okay, you know, but, like, the message was good. So I give it a 4.1 on 5.
All right. So that brings us to the end.
The end.
It's a little
We
emotional.
made it.
Can finally erase
Months
Krayzie
later.
Bone off of my whiteboard. I give this project a 4.33 on 5. I do not think that this album is something I'm going to revisit in its entirety ever again. But there are a couple of really good songs on it.
Yeah.
A couple of really strong bangers. As I've said before in this review, you should trim it down to about 28, 29 tracks. Kill off some of those fluffy ones that are just kind of fillery, and get rid of some of these skits. You might have a really great experience, because the skits in some cases don't really do much to break up the flow. And I mean, yeah, there's a great argument for a double album, but 38 songs is a heavy double album. Like,
Yeah.
because the double album could be 24 songs, or it could be 38 songs. You know, like,
Yeah.
both of those things are valid double albums. And in this case, I just think it's a lot. It's a lot of time, and it's not like there's enough variation to really justify it outside of for the people that love listening to Krayzie Bone do what Krayzie Bone do on repeat. And if you're that crowd, I can imagine how this project is amazing. And I like a lot of these songs, but
It's a bit much.
it's like,
It's overkill.
I kind of like him better with the Bones, and there's just so many other great songs to me to go through. That, a few of these are going to be stuff I replay. And I can imagine maybe when it came out, maybe they didn't have as much music out to look back on and whatever, but
I guess, yeah.
I don't know. That's where I'm at with it.
I gave this album a 4.11 on 5, so it's an 82%. So I mean, it's good, and like there definitely are some like good songs, and like, you know, but like there's really nothing that's like I'm sure there are like some that, you know, I'll listen to again, and you know they're gonna be great, and they'll just become like another staple in my life. But for the most part, a lot of this, especially like the last part of this album, like this particular filming scenario, like there really wasn't anything that I would like, whoa, like this is great. Like there was one, I think, you know. And so yeah, anyways, the first half is a classic, I guess. I don't know.
No, the first half is really strong.
Yeah. So 82%.
All right. So thank y'all for watching. For those of you that did, appreciate y'all. And if you really watched 4 videos of us talking about Krayzie Bone, let us know. That would be real cool.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd be like, damn, because I'll be honest, this is one of those ones where I don't know that I would actually watch 4 hours of anyone talking about this album. Most of the times, I feel like the reviews are kind of shit I would watch. This was one of
Hope
the
you put it on
where,
like faster speed than regular.
like, I'm just like, yeah, it's a lot. But that's just also, I know when we agreed to do this album, we didn't look at the track list, so big mistake.
Yeah.
Not a big mistake.
Like I was like, yeah, sure, Krayzie Bone. And then
I don't mean that in like a negative way. It's just, I can see how
too much of a good thing.
But it's also like the review of the 38 track album that like most people probably don't remember / watch isn't the hottest commodity, and I respect that. So I mean, I'm glad we did this, because from like the historical view of it, just learning about the pitfall of the 38 track album, like all of that to me makes it worth doing. All of this is always worth doing. But yeah, even I admit this one felt like it was a lot to talk about, this one project. That's okay. Yeah. We did it. And so I'd love to hear what you think. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you feel it. Like the video if you felt it. Dislike it if you didn't. I get it. Special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Dempsey, Chris Power, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black, Hurricane, Lindo, Williams, Scribble, Carl. They're dope. They support what we do.
Yeah.
They get to tell us what albums to review, so we know Lindell, we're coming, and then we got you, Carl. We got your review coming too. And yeah, I make music myself, so you can check that out on this channel in the description below. It'll be real dope if you follow me on Spotify. Yeah, that's all I gotta say for now. So live long and prosper, everyone.
Bye, guys.